Right now, while your tomatoes and peppers are setting their first fruit, you are almost certainly throwing away the very things that could help them produce more. I'm not talking about anything you have to buy. Every single week, most gardeners toss out 5 things that can do the work of a whole bag of store-bought fertilizer. And they don't even know it. Not banana peels. Not coffee grounds. I'll tell you the truth about those 2 at the very end, because you've probably been told the wrong thing about both. These 5 are different. Used the right way, they help your flowers turn into fruit instead of dropping off. And they help that fruit grow firm, heavy, and free of that ugly black rot on the bottom. And I'll show you the mistake with each one too. Because here's something nobody says out loud. Free fertilizer can still hurt your plants if you use it too strong. So I'll give you the recipe, and I'll give you the line you should never cross. The first one is sitting in your kitchen right now, and almost everyone uses it the wrong way. 1. Eggshells plus vinegar. You've heard they're good for tomatoes, and that's true. They're full of calcium, and calcium is what builds firm, strong fruit. But here's the part most people get wrong. If you just crush up eggshells and bury them around your plants, almost nothing happens. That hard shell takes years to break down in the soil. By the time it releases any calcium, your tomatoes are long gone. So we're going to unlock that calcium first, with a little vinegar. But before I give you the recipe, I want you to remember 2 words: steady moisture. Calcium only helps if the plant can actually move it up into the fruit, and it can only do that when the soil stays evenly damp. Hold on to those 2 words. I'll come back to them at the very end, because they tie this whole video together. Here's how you do it. Take your saved eggshells and dry them out in a low oven or a dry pan until they're crisp. Crush them into a powder. Fill a quart jar, about 1/4 full, with that powder. Then pour in regular white vinegar until the jar is nearly full. You'll see it start to fizz right away. That fizzing is the vinegar pulling the calcium loose. Let it sit for 7 to 10 days, until the fizzing stops completely. When it's quiet, it's ready. Now the mistake. This stuff is strong, and it's acidic. Never pour it on straight. Mix just 1 tablespoon of it into a full gallon of water, that's all. And use that whole gallon to lightly water several plants around the root zone. Don't dump it all on a single plant. Pour it gently around the base, never on the leaves. And wait until the fizzing has fully stopped, or you'll be putting raw vinegar on your roots. Calcium keeps the fruit firm, but it won't make the fruit grow big. For that, you need potassium. And the best free source of it is one you'd never expect. 2. Onion skins. The dry, papery skins you peel off an onion and throw straight in the trash. Those skins make a gentle, potassium-rich tea. And potassium is the nutrient that acts like a pump, pushing sugar and energy into the fruit so it fills out firm and sweet, instead of the plant just growing more leaves. That's exactly what you want at this stage. And there's a bonus. That strong onion smell can help keep some root pests away. I won't promise it clears your garden of bugs, but plenty of gardeners notice fewer problems around the base when they use it. That matters in hot weather, when tomatoes and peppers are already stressed, and an easy target. Here's the recipe. Take a good handful of dry onion skins and drop them into a quart jar of warm water. Let them steep for about 24 to 36 hours. The water will turn a deep amber red, almost like iced tea. Strain the skins out, mix it about half and half with plain water, and pour it around the roots once a week. And here's the mistake to avoid. Don't let it sit longer than about 2 days. Past that, it starts to ferment. It turns sour and smelly, and that smell will draw in little flies instead of feeding your plants. Make it, use it, and don't leave it sitting on the counter for a week. If the first 2 already changed how you look at your kitchen scraps, subscribe. Because the next 3 are the ones most gardeners never even think to save. The third one doesn't come from your kitchen at all. It comes from your fireplace. 3. Wood ash. If you burn real firewood, the gray ash left behind is loaded with potassium and calcium, and it also helps sweeten up soil that's gone too acidic. It's one of the most powerful free things on this whole list. And that's exactly why it's also the most dangerous one if you get carried away. So let me be very clear about how to use it. This is not something you pour on every week. Wood ash is strong. For most backyard gardens, the safest way by far is to keep it dry and simple. 1 light handful, scattered thin around a mature plant, scratched into the topsoil, and watered in, once during the fruiting season. That's it. The right amount depends on your soil, so with wood ash, always start small. Here's the mistake, and it's a big one. Too much wood ash will push your soil too far the other way, too alkaline, And when that happens, it actually locks up other nutrients, so your plant can't use them at all. More is not better here. Less is better. With wood ash, a light hand once in a while beats a heavy hand every week, every single time. One more thing. Store your ash somewhere dry. If it sits out in the rain washes the potassium right out of it, and you're left with almost nothing. Now, those first three all feed the plant directly, but the fourth one does something different. It doesn't feed the plant at all. It feeds what's living around the roots. 4. Fermented rice water. The next time you rinse white rice before cooking, don't pour that cloudy water down the drain. That's the same cloudy water most people throw out without a second thought, and it's quietly useful. Now, I want to be honest with you about what this one does, because there's a lot of nonsense online about it. Rice water does not feed your plant the way ash or onion skins do. It doesn't dump potassium or calcium into the soil. What it does is feed the tiny living things around the roots. And when that life is healthy and active, it helps your plant get at the nutrients that are already sitting in your soil, waiting to be used. Think of it less like a meal and more like waking the soil up. Here's how. Save about 2 cups of that first batch of cloudy rinse water from white rice. Pour it into a jar, set it somewhere shaded at room temperature, and let it sit for about 3 days. Then mix it with plain water, roughly 1 part rice water to 4 parts water, and pour it around the base of the plant. You only need to do this every 10 days to 2 weeks. And the mistake: don't let it go much past 3 days. After that, it can turn sour and alcoholic. And that will hurt your roots and bring in little gnats instead of helping. Also, use plain white rice, not brown. Brown rice has too much oil, and it'll go rancid on you. And the last one is the most satisfying of all, because you're taking the weeds you pull out of the ground and turning them into free plant food. 5. Weed tea. Every week you're pulling weeds and tossing them aside. Stop tossing them. Some of those weeds are little nutrient miners. Deep-rooted weeds like dandelions send their roots way down into the subsoil and pull up minerals your tomatoes can't reach on their own, potassium, calcium, and more, and store them in their leaves. When you soak those weeds in water, all of that gets released right back out into a free liquid feed for your garden. Here's the recipe. Chop up your pulled weeds and pack them into a 5-gallon bucket, about halfway full. Fill it the rest of the way with water. Then cover it with a tight lid. Let it soak for 2 to 3 weeks. When it's done, strain out the mush. Mix the liquid down to about 1 part tea to 10 parts water until it looks like weak tea, and pour it around your plants every 10 days to 2 weeks. Now, the mistakes, and there are a couple. First, it smells terrible while it's brewing. That's why the lid matters. Keep it covered and keep it in a back corner. Second, and this one's important, only use weeds that haven't gone to seed yet. If you brew weeds full of seeds, you'll be pouring weed seeds all over your garden. And finally, go easy on the soft young green stuff. Too much of that adds a lot of nitrogen. And nitrogen at this stage means lots of leaves and dropped flowers, the opposite of what we want. So now you've got 5. But here's the part most videos never tell you. And it's where those 2 words from the very beginning finally come back. All 5 of these are good, but you can't just dump all of them on your plants at once. Some of these work against each other if you pile them on the same day. The calcium and the potassium actually compete to get into the roots. And when you overload the soil, the plant ends up grabbing less of everything, not more. So you don't need a strict schedule. The rule is simple: go light, space them out. Give your plant one thing at a time, rotate through them, and never pour everything on at once. And now, remember those 2 words? Steady moisture. Here's why they mattered. You can do everything on this list perfectly and still get that black rot on the bottom of your tomatoes. And when that happens, people assume the soil is short on calcium and they add more. But that's usually not the real problem. The real problem is the watering. When soil swings from bone dry to soaking wet and back again, the plant can't move calcium up into the fruit, no matter how much is in the ground. The pipeline breaks. So the single most important thing you can do, more important than any feed on this list, is water evenly and lay down a layer of mulch, straw, or dry leaves to hold that moisture steady. Feed light, water steady. That's the whole secret. And now, the 2 things I promised you at the very beginning. The 2 everyone talks about, that you should actually stop throwing at your plants. Banana peels. I get why people swear by banana peel water. The idea makes so much sense. But the truth is, soaking a peel in cold water barely pulls any potassium out of it at all. Most of that potassium stays locked inside the peel. So, that jar of brown banana water you've been pouring on your roots? It's mostly just sugar water, and it tends to draw flies and choke the roots more than it feeds them. Banana peels aren't useless, far from it, but the right way to use them is to compost them, not soak them. And coffee grounds. Here's the surprise. Coffee grounds are not the soil acid monster people think they are. That's mostly a myth. The real problem is using them fresh and heavy, piled right around young roots, where they can actually slow your plant down. If you want to use coffee grounds, compost them first. Don't dump them straight on the soil. So there you have it, 5 free things hiding in your trash that most people throw away every week. Now I want to hear from you. Out of these 5, which one are you trying first? And what are you growing this year? Tell me down in the comments. I read them, and I'll do my best to answer.